Welcome wanderers, light workers, seekers on the path, all awakening beings. This is the Sons of the Law of One podcast. Please go to thesonsofthelawof1.com and contribute to this podcast. We are currently 2 weeks into the 5th day of the Galactic Underworld. Here are the words of Dr. Calleman, taken from 2 articles concerning this significant spiritual cycle in which we live. Dr. Calleman is the author of Solving the Greatest Mystery of Our Time, the Mayan Calendar, and the Mayan Calendar and the Transformation of Consciousness. For some 20 years or so, spiritually oriented people in the world have become more or less accustomed to calls for global meditations for various reasons. Some of the most powerful global meditations have been based on the Mayan calendar in its traditional form, such as the Harmonic Convergence, August 16-17, 1987, and the Oneness Celebration, June 6 through 8, 2004. People then have had deep experiences of contact with a higher reality, and we, as a collective, are part of a divinely guided process that is especially strongly experienced at such events. Yet, despite the power of such experiences, they have been awakened by singular events quite in contrast to the aspect of divine creation that we are in the midst of, the Galactic Underworld. An underworld is a specific level of evolution of consciousness, which is a process. The Galactic Underworld is in reality an exactly charted wave movement of alternating energies that chart the overall collective development of humanity at the present time. Hence it would seem that if we are able to be a part of this process and want to help to see this divine process of creation arrive at its intended fulfillment, we should actually participate in a collective process rather than just singular, isolated events. We have now come to a point in the Galactic Underworld where interest in the cosmic plan has become so great that we may jointly start to develop processes to successfully make the transition to the 5th day of the Galactic Underworld. The 5th day is a pulse of light that carries the breakthrough of the energy of this underworld, a type of cosmic energy that at earlier points led to the breakthrough of Christianity and the modern world, respectively. Whatever the content of it, we also have every reason to believe that Mel Gibson's upcoming movie, Apocalypto, will serve to create a breakthrough into mainstream interest in the Mayan calendar carried by this new light. Given the nature of this breakthrough as a wider collective process, it then seems natural that we look at the dates for the breakthrough celebration not as isolated events, but as markers or steps in a common process. For the first time in its history, a small minority of humanity has now come to realize that we are living in a divine process of creation, and that this process is exactly charted by the Mayan calendar. Bringing this realization into mainstream thought is part of the purpose of the breakthrough celebration. Such a change is no minor change in humanity's view of its own place in the universe. And given the inspiration we may find in this, we may soon reach a critical mass where it becomes meaningful to actively participate in this process as co-creators. The breakthrough celebration is designed for this purpose, and because it is a process rather than a singular event, very likely it will oblige us to work in a totally different way, the way of transforming ourselves consciously and willfully into beings of co-creation, rather than, as sometimes has been the case with the singular events, people experiencing temporary spiritual highs. It is a matter of becoming what the human race is intended to become, of realizing that there is no one else to wait for. We are the ones we have been waiting for, the conscious co-creators. What we know about the galactic underworld in the larger perspective is that its days tend to favor the eastern right hemispheres of the cosmic mind, with consequences for all aspects of human life and strongly influencing such things as east-west relations, gender relations, and the relationship between body and soul. New synthesis and expressions of both inner and outer unity are being expressed in all of these fields. And the question is, will we be able to drive these transformations consciously as co-creators with the divine plan, as this is aligned with the Mayan calendar in general and the galactic underworld in particular? Again, when this happens, it will be the first time ever in the history of humanity, the birth of a new kind of human being, Homo co-creativus. In my view, I feel we should now embark on such a transformation not only because it may be part of our destiny, but also because, at least in my own view, the fifth day, beginning in November of 2006, increases the probability of a global currency crisis led by the downfall of the US dollar. The end of Western dominance is now evident all over the world, not only in the economic strengthening of China, India, and Russia, but also in the political changes in Latin America and the Middle East. Whether it will be the Iranian oil bourse or something else that triggers the downfall of the US dollar, it seems likely that this shift away from Western dominance will be permanented through its downfall around the time that the fifth day begins. Whatever this change implies, it should create an opening for us to take charge of our destinies and actively co-create the world in the direction where the galactic underworld is meant to take us, to a balancing of our relations and an end to dominance. Personally, I do not think there is such a thing as a panacea for what to do at our present time. Dikshas can lead to an enlightenment, but the transformation of the real world into a world of oneness will require a continuous transformation and a co-creation of our world in such a way that the new reality, the world of oneness, manifests. Hence, while the breakthrough celebration includes a recommendation for a series of Diksha days for spiritual inspiration and experience of the divine presence, these days are more to be seen as markers for us to relate to as we participate in the transformation of the world we live in. These markers, in turn, will serve as guidance in the process. Needless to say, the transformation of the human being into a being who is a co-creator in the divine plan presents a formidable challenge. In the time of the singular events, we would go back to lives more or less lived according to the old paradigms that still dominate society at large. But what would it be like to go back to that, or if there is no such society in a traditional sense to go back to? For those hoping for life to become easier as we go along, I feel there is not much good news. The challenges are likely to become even greater, and if there is any insurance for the future, it is to have a focus on oneness. At least with such a focus, we know that we serve the higher purpose of the whole. The fifth day will mean a breakthrough into a new reality, and this also means a breakdown of the old. Our choice will be whether to explore the loss of the old or to affirm the new. The future obviously belongs to those that affirm the new. How then are we to develop the breakthrough celebration from a series of singular events to a common process? This, I believe, is what we will have to co-create together, and the starting point must be a commitment to have it be a process. Actually, the process is there whether we are aware of it or not. The process is called the divine process of creation, and its purpose is to fully manifest our own divinity. Yet, what can we do concretely to develop an experience of the breakthrough celebration as a process? I feel we should look at the principle of paying it forward, of passing on the baton to the next. and in this way disseminating the new balance phenomena emerging with the galactic underworld. Whether it is about the strengthening of the feminine, developing holistic health, or co-creating an end to the dominance in the world. Possible ways of doing this are to pass on fires from fire ceremonies from one place to another, like an Olympic fire that does not die. Passing on dikshas, or passing on the process in a dynamic way in transforming the world. Of course, this may all sound like science fiction to the many that think human beings will never change, but if there is one thing we may learn from the Mayan calendar, it is that it is the energies of the cosmic plan that make human beings become what they are, and that these energies change as the underworlds change. We have now completed the 4th day of the Galactic Underworld, which means that step by step human beings of this planet have been transformed on an inner level by 4 days, 4 pulses of light in the Galactic Underworld. Certainly many have been transformed, although in a general societal context of their lives, this transformation has not yet had a chance to blossom. What the 5th day does is allow for a breakthrough of the accumulated transformation of the precious 4 days, so that it also becomes visibly evident in the external world and allowed to blossom. This is what we are in for, and the breakthrough celebration for the transition into the 5th day presents not only a challenge, but also an opportunity for the new energies to visibly manifest in an altered way of life. If there is anything we may learn from the Mayan calendar, then, it is that it is a strict time plan for the evolution of consciousness, and that this plan very much includes ourselves at the present time. The process of evolution of consciousness is now primarily transforming the human beings, and through human beings, our external reality. We are the ones whose consciousness is undergoing transformation. The Mayan calendar only helps the patterns of this transformation become visible and understandable. As the consciousness of humanity is transformed, so is the external world that we are, to a large extent, creating through our perception of it. I feel it is very important to grasp these relationships. The transformation of the world in the years ahead happens through the transformation of consciousness of ourselves. And the true Mayan calendar is an exact time plan for this. The very idea of asking what will happen emanates from a dualist relationship to the external reality that has been inherited from the lower underworld. I feel it is time to throw out all ideas that the Mayan calendar is about waiting for something to happen in the year 2012. The true Mayan calendar is about a process that we, moment by moment, may be a part of if we so choose, and if a significantly strong positive desire for experiencing oneness can be brought forth. For this, I encourage an international, explorative, and dynamic process where only the dates are offered as synchronizing signposts. What we do and who we are during these times are the features of our collective awakening that ushers in the energies that the Mayan calendar describes. We are the ones we have been waiting for. Please check out Dr. Calleman's website. That's www.calleman. And please go to www.thesonsofthelawof1.com to listen to previous podcasts, subscribe, and contribute. Thank you. That's all for now. Love and light to all.